Alright guys, today we have a 2007 Dodge Grand Caravan. This is 3.3. That's the engine size. This car is it has a battery light on and also it's making a noise. What we're gonna do is we're gonna start the car. We're gonna take our voltmeter. We're gonna put it on DC here and we're gonna check the alternator output. Gas started. So this alternator is only given a 11.7 voltage, which is not enough. And plus it's making a noise. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna replace this alternator here. To replace this alternator, we're gonna use a number 8 socket. So we're gonna take the number 8 and the number 10. We're gonna remove these two bolts here and then the two side bolts for this EGR, and we're gonna also disconnect this connector here. We're gonna take out this red clip and pull out that connector. So first we're gonna remove this EGR valve. What this is gonna do is it's gonna give us a lot of room to pull out this alternator. So you take number 8 and remove the two top bolts that goes to this pipe up here from the EGR valve. So if your car has a battery light on, just check the voltage on the alternator. If it's low, below 13, you have a bad alternator. This one's also making a noise. Alright, so we're gonna come right back as soon as those bolts are out. So we got both of these bolts out. What we're gonna do next is we're gonna take out this connector. So what you do is you take this tab, you pull it back, and then you could squeeze here and this connector should come out. You're probably gonna have to use a flathead screwdriver to push that tab back. Sometimes it breaks. Push it from the back end. Push it from here. There you go. Now you can push the connector, clamp and pull out the connector. There you go. Alright, so we have this connector out. Now what we're gonna do is there's two bolts to this EGR valve. They're going this way, they're number 10. We're gonna remove those. So you're gonna need an extension with the number 10 short, and it's gotta be the small socket because you don't have enough room back there. Take out the bottom one first. Alright, so he's gonna remove that and then we're gonna come right back. Alright, so the EGR valve is loose. The bolts are loose, and now we're gonna do it by hand and bring out the EGR valve. Alright, so we got the EGR valve out. We're gonna lift this valve out and we're gonna put it to the side. Now we have all the room, the clearance for this alternator to come straight up. Alright, so what we're gonna do next is we're gonna remove, we're gonna go down and we're gonna remove the belt, and then we're gonna come back up. We'll disconnect the battery and take off the number 13s on this alternator. Alright guys, we're gonna remove the belt, but nothing fits on this. Alright, you need a special tool, but if you don't have that, what you can do is you can take this pry bar, you put it here, and we're gonna pull that tensioner down just like that. Alright, so let me get a good little angle. Just be careful with your fingers, you don't hurt yourself. I'm gonna go right there and So you see what I did? I used the pry bar to make that tension go loose. Alright, so if you have the belt loose, here's the belt. It's out. Now what we're gonna do is, while we're down here, we're gonna remove this number 13 right there on top of this AC compress. That's holding the alternator down. So that's not a 13, that's a 15. So you need a 15 to remove that bolt right there. I just take out the extension. So what you need is either a deep socket or a short socket with extension. And if the deep socket doesn't work, then you need a medium sized socket. There's not too much clearance in there. Just loosen it up and then do it by hand. You don't want the ratchet to stuck either. You can move over a little bit. That's it. Once you have the bolt loose, take off your wrench. It's gonna get stuck, and then you could probably do it by hand. Let me try doing it by hand. Let me try again. Alright, still tight. You need a socket to go on. So he's gonna get that out, then we go on the top. Alright, make sure you disconnect the battery, because now we're gonna remove the cable, the live 12 volt cable that comes straight from the alternator. Nice. Somebody hit the battery. Open it more. There you go. Just disconnect that, because that's gonna cut the power off to that main cable on the alternator. All right, you could take off the ground, positive, anything you like, but usually ground is recommended. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna take off this one first, number 13 down here. Before that, we'll disconnect this here, so this will give us room. So we're gonna disconnect this, and then we're gonna take out the connector for the alternator, and then we'll take off this bottom bolt. This is 13 on the top for the alternator. And then also we got the little connector in the bottom. This connector has the red tab also. Just like this EGR sensor, it has a red tab just like that one. Sure, I don't see it. Alright, so we wasn't able to get this out because that red tab is holding it. It's in the bottom angle. What we're gonna do next is we're gonna remove that number 15 in the bottom. Alright guys, so we got number 15 with the extension on it right under the AC line, and we're gonna remove that bolt. Go ahead, turn it. You're gonna give it a good few turns, and once it's loose, you can take it out by hand. Alright, now we can take it out by hand and we'll be right back. Alright, so here's the bolt that we had took off from down there. You can see it's empty down there now. Alright, so we're gonna put this to the side. And next, we're gonna take off this one right here, and the alternator is all ready to come on. The belt is loose already. The bolt is loose and it's coming out by hand. You can move the alternator around a little bit. That would take pressure off the bolt. Make sure you keep the bolts in order. You know, they're different sizes maybe. I didn't pay attention to that, but we're all keeping them separate. The bottom one stays bottom. The front one stays to the side, and this one, this one. And this one looks like that. This is about the same size, but I'm gonna put it to the side here. Now what we can do is we can turn this alternator and get that connector out somehow, some way. See that red tab right there? You can see it right there. It's a red tab. We're gonna push that back. So you take a screwdriver and push it back. From this angle. Once you have that tab back, you could push the connector pin and the connector comes out. And now you can remove the alternator. Since you took out the EGR valve, you should be able to lift this alternator straight up. There you go. We have the alternator out. Put it up sideways. No, face up. Hold it for me. Hold it. Alright, so this was always making noise. And in the back it was pushing out all the dust. So we're gonna change this and we're gonna test everything. Alright, so we have the new alternator. Just make sure everything looks same. You have these two bolts. And this thing has a clutch inside. And you also want to make sure the back is the same. The pin for the connector is the same. This and this, and it has this and this. They're good. Alright, we're gonna put that in. So you simply just take the alternator, get it to the spot, and you reverse the procedure pretty much. We have the alternator in place. What we're gonna do is we're gonna put that top bolt, so that's gonna hold it for us, and we're not gonna tighten that. We're gonna put the other two in there. We're gonna get this bolt to go all the way in as much as we can. Make sure you get the thread straight as perfectly as you can. So we got the top bolt in, the alternator is being held by that, and we're gonna put the bottom bolt in now. So what he's gonna do is he's gonna get that bolt in there and he's gonna try to catch the threads as much as he can. Alright, we got the bolts in there. We even got the bottom one in there. We reached from the top. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna lock up these bolts. We're gonna tighten them, both of them, and then we'll put in the connectors and the cables and put on the belt, and then we'll test it. You can even reach the bottom one, the bottom bolt from up here. Just make sure you have the threads on good. Alright, so we're gonna lock up this one and the one in the front. That thing's going. Alright, now we're going to put extension on and a number 15 to get to that Number 15 right behind the AC line. This one's a little tricky, but you can do it. So just make sure it's nice and tight. Don't overdo it because this car has an aluminum bracket. The timing cover is aluminum, that's where it's mounted onto. If you break it, you would have to do a big job on this car. Alright, so next, we'll put in the connector and the cable. And then we'll go down and put on the belt.
Did you see?
So you take the connector, you push it in, and lock it up. And then make sure you double check it doesn't come out. Sometimes it's hard to get in, so make sure that red the little clip is not in, because if it's in, it won't even go in. Once you have this connector in, make sure you pull on it, it doesn't come out, right? It's just like that, it's locked in. Next, we'll put in the 12 volt to 14 volt cable for the alternator. That's this one right here. Make sure you put the nut on that bolt so it holds this cable down. You don't want to leave that loose. If you leave that loose, it's not going to provide enough battery power. After that, just make sure it's nice and tight. Don't over twist it, you'll break the cable that's going inside the alternator, the bolt. Just snug it in and that's it. And you're done, and we're going to go down now. We're going to put the belt on and then we'll come back and put the EGR valve. Now in the bottom, just make sure that number 15 is nice and tight, and that's it. Once you have that in nice and tight, you're good. Next, make sure the routing of the belt is good everywhere, and once you have the belt good everywhere, we'll put the tensioner with the pry bar and we'll put that belt on. Alright guys, same thing. He's ready to put the belt on. I'm gonna yank this tensioner. Just watch your fingers, alright? Do not put your fingers anywhere where you can get hurt.
That's it.
Alright, so he got the belt on there. Make sure it looks good. Does it look good?
Yep.
Alright, now I can let this tensioner go, right? That's it. We're done. Just double check your tensioner everywhere. I mean your belt. If it's good on all the pulleys, the alternator. There's a pulley back here. All the way up there. And then we'll put this cover on and we'll come down with the car. Alright guys, we got the belt on. Just double check everything. There's a power steering all the way in the back. It looks good. Next, what we're gonna do is we're gonna put the EGR wall that goes here, and then we have the connector hanging right there for it. We'll take it over. Make sure you put the gaskets in. Just like that. Alright, so we'll put the number 10s in first. These bolts, what they do is they hold the gasket for you. So you just align it, catch a couple of threads on both of the bolts and tighten it up. Now you can grab the top one first, the top bolt, because what that's gonna do is gonna hold it for you in spot. Tighten all 4 bolts, and then you put in the connector and you're done, and then you can test the alternator. We'll test this one. Alright, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna tighten the 2 number 10s. Those are the two number 10s holding the EGR valve to the block. And then we have two number 8s on the top that's going to hold the pipe from the intake manifold to the EGR. So we got that. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to tighten the two number 10s. Those are the two number 10s holding the EGR valve to the block. And then we have two number 8s on the top that's going to hold the pipe from the intake manifold to the EGR. So we got that. Now we're going to do the top one. Make sure you get this gasket in there first. And then this is the gasket that goes inside. Then we'll put in the two bolts. So we got the both bolts in there and we're going to just tighten them. You take your wrench with the number 8 and you tighten those bolts. One and then the second one. And that's it. And don't forget the connector for the EGR valve is hanging down here. I'm going to take that connector, stick it in, and push the red tab. And that's it. Now we're going to move over to the battery. We're going to put the battery terminal and then we'll test it. There you go. Make sure that you tighten this bolt too. That's it, we're done. Now we can test the alternator output. Alright guys, we have the alternator down there. That's the new alternator. We got everything plugged in. I got my voltmeter set to the DC voltage. I got the positive connected here and I'm going to connect the negative here. Go ahead, crank it, we're going to see. There you go. Giving a 14 voltage. It took a little time for that thing to kick in, but we have 14 volts. And that's it. And the noise is gone, it's silent.